Welcome to my channel. This is JC Rock and Metal Reviews. My name is John, and today I'm going to review the new album from Melvins titled Working with God. Before I start, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. I do rock and metal reviews, rankings, and more, and I upload about one video per day. Melvins is a band that have been around for a very long time. They've been very influential in the grunge movement, even though you don't hear the name as much as the other bands like Nirvana and Soundgarden. They were playing long before those bands. They have mostly performed as a trio, but sometimes they work with additional musicians. The two constant members are Buzz Osborne, you can see him right here with that like crazy hairstyle, and Dale Crover. Now, he was also one of the early members of Nirvana. Now, just like the band Leonard Skinner, they named the band after somebody they didn't like, a guy named Melvin. He was a co-worker at a supermarket. The band's sound can be described as experimental rock, alternative metal, sludge, grunge, or hardcore punk. This album, Working with God, reminds me a lot of those like really early grunge albums. I'm talking about Nirvana's Bleach or Soundgarden's Louder Than Love. Those albums that have a very sludgy, noisy punk rock sound. The band has a large discography. They have 24 albums. They have released albums about every 1 or 2 years since 1986. I mean, this band has really never stopped. Some of their most memorable albums were Houdini, that was from 1993, and Stoner Witch, that was from 1994. So this album has a runtime of 37 minutes and it has 13 tracks. So I'm just going to go over a few of the standout tracks on the album. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Negative No No. So when Nirvana released their first album, they had a song called Negative Creep. And that was the first thing I thought about when I heard this song title. The song is a slow sludge metal song. The guitars are down-tuned. And it has a sound reminiscent of early Soundgarden. There's a lot of like feedback and it creates a really like cool atmosphere. The next one is Bouncing Rick. So this song is a little more fast paced. The main riff is almost like a thrash metal riff. There's a lot of feedback and noise. The vocals reminded me of something from, remember that band like the Butthole Surfers? There's just like a lot of like noise. The guitar solos are very raw. And it has like this garage rock sound. Next is Caddy Daddy. So this is probably the most like Soundgarden sounding song. You know, something off of like their first album. The riff is slow, down-tuned, has like these like string bends. You know, Buzz's vocals remind me of the band like Mastodon at times. There's a lot of like noise and feedback, as with most of the songs on this album. And this is just an example of like slow stoner rock. Next is Brian the Horseface Goon. So these are some of their more like comical songs on the album. It's in two parts. The intro is like 43 seconds of the guy singing a very like comical style and has almost like a cartoonish quality to it. But this song in particular reminds me of something from like Nirvana's Bleach again. A little more of like a punk rock song. And it has a pretty cool grunge rock riff. Next is The Great Good Place. This song has a very heavy driving riff. It's very raw. Now, when you're listening to this album or this song in general, it almost sounds like your speakers have blown, or if you have headphones, it kind of like sounds like your headphones are like damaged. And I think that's kind of like what they're going for when they had that recording process. Just something that sounds like it was recording on old equipment, very raw, very like garage rock, and you know, that's what they're going for here. Next is Hot Fish. This is the longest song. I mean, it's only 5 minutes, but it's the longest song. It's a slow driving riff. And it's like that doom metal where it's just like one riff like repeated throughout the song. There's not really a lot of like structure. It's not like a song like a verse chorus something like that. It's just like the same driving riff. They're like singing about hot fish, and you know they have like the lyrics with the backing vocals, and it's just very simple, but it's catchy and it sticks in your head. The last one I'm going to talk about is Hund. This reminds me of the early grunge days. It's like a fast driving song. As with most of the songs, there's a lot of feedback and these like minimalistic guitar solos. So in conclusion, I haven't heard all of their albums, but I suspect like this is the type of band that keeps putting out the same album, and they're like stuck in their early 80s, they're stuck in late 80s, early 90s, like Seattle rock scene. And that's exactly what this album sounds like, as if it was recorded like during that period. The album is very raw. Now there are a lot of song titles, that use like the F word, which I didn't mention. I like to keep my videos family friendly, but they do a cover of the Beach Boys, like I Run Around, and they replace like every other word with like an F-bomb. If you can like imagine how that would sound, that's kind of what's going on here. This is an album, if you like sludge metal or early grunge, I would say check it out. I'll give it a score of an 8 out of 10, just because it's a fun reminder of the early grunge days. So that is it. Comment below, what do you think of Melvins? What do you think of this album? What do you think of the band in general? Coming up, more new releases. I was going to do the new Architects, but I basically got bored and I stopped listening to the album throughout, like halfway throughout the album. I just didn't like the album, and so I'm not going to do that. There's another band called Moonspell. I'm really waiting to do that Alice Cooper Detroit Stories, but I'm still waiting for my CD to come in the mail. He doesn't have it on streaming, but I'd rather like do the CD and do the unboxing anyway, so I'm gonna wait for that. It might be like midweek before I do Alice Cooper, and other than that, like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff, and I will look at my other videos that I have linked over here, and I will see you in the next one.